Happy Wellness Wednesday, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on into the room. Thank you, Natasha, for posting in our group. I sure appreciate you. Good to see everyone today. Well, hopefully, I'll see you in the chat. Hey, Jen, welcome back. We gave you a happy birthday shout out last week, so hopefully, you got to see the replay. And we just want to send you happy birthday wishes. We missed you last week. So, welcome in, everyone. So thankful you all are here. I need to grab my book. I took it with me. Today I had several doctor's appointments. And so this is also going to be my disclaimer to make sure you do your annual, your checkups and all that. I was doing, what was I doing? My husband and I, we did our eye doctor appointment. My husband has never been to the eye doctor, y'all. I was like, oh, honey, you got to make sure you're good. Thank God for wives, right? Wives save lives. And then, hey, Miss Virginia, so happy to have you on. Thank you for posting, Jen. I sure appreciate you. You are my shining star. Appreciate you so much. So, welcome. Since we got the regular crew in the house tonight, we will get started. So we are on page. I always do this to myself because I've read further. We're on page 102 tonight. 102. And we are on commandment number 5, invest in healthy relationships and maintain them. So welcome if you are watching the replay, because I know a lot of people catch the replay. If you haven't met me before, I'm Mia James, your financial wellness coach. And my goal is to create a safe place for women to come together and be able to talk about finances with no shame, no overwhelm, and no pressure, so that we can create the dream lives we deserve. And so I'm on a personal mission, as I know some of you are, to have a work optional lifestyle. And the reason why I call it work optional instead of retirement is because I love what I do. And I should say, I want to be able to not have to work. I work because I want to, right? So that is what I aspire to and what I help others aspire to. Y'all, this background is like wear me out today. So let us jump in. So we're on page 102, and we are starting with our commandment number 5, invest in healthy relationships and maintain them. So there is a book that he recommends in the second paragraph by Dr. George C. Fraser. And I've heard Dr. Fraser speak about the importance of relationships. And so it is so, I'm personally grateful for you all showing up, because I know that, for the most part, everyone who comes, I have a relationship with them. And that means a lot to me that you take 30 minutes out of your week to come and we discuss something that is near and dear to my heart. And I'm sure is near and dear to yours. And the book that Dr. Fraser wrote is called Success Runs in Our Race. And he is known as a master networker. And so this is definitely a book that I haven't read yet and want to read, because I really have enjoyed the content that I've heard Dr. Fraser share. And he drops mad wisdom. So let's keep it going. So the next thing that stood out to me is that I love Dr. Voice. Like, I can literally hear his voice in my head when I'm reading. And he's like, this is the third paragraph. He says, the secret sauce required to do business with others and build in a way that is mutually beneficial to everyone is to be nice to each other. I was like, oh, this stuff we're supposed to learn in kindergarten that people didn't acquire. Hi, Deborah. Good to have you on tonight. Oh, okay, so since I see more people are watching, if you want to come in the chat, because the chat is where it's at, okay? And I live for the chat, y'all. The chat is for me, okay? I love it so much. And that's because I get to hear your thoughts and comments, right? I love different people's perspectives. You have to either be, if you're on your phone, you have to be on the YouTube app. Or if you're on your laptop, you can be, on youtube.com, and then you can join in on the comments. Okay. So please, I want to know your comments, because I was like, I couldn't figure out why people couldn't comment. Right. And so if you're here and you haven't been able to comment, that's why. Like, if you're watching in a browser on your phone, it ain't gonna work. So get off the browser, get in the app, or get on your laptop and go to youtube.com and then type in Beyond the Busyness. or at Beyond Busyness, and we would love to have your thoughts and opinions in the chat. Okay, awesome. So let's talk about how he went all the way back to kindergarten, y'all. Like, for real, he was like, "Oh, the secret, like the secret sauce." I'm like, what is he gonna say? It's just being nice. I was like, yo, but actually, being nice does go a long way, honestly, because I was just doing some coaching with my friend today, and I was just like, sometimes people take my niceness for granted, and so sometimes I have to tell people like, you cannot treat me that way, right? And so you do want to be nice and you do want to be kind, but also you cannot let people take your kindness for weakness. And then he goes on to speak about the power of networking is the rule of reciprocity. So I have another story of reciprocity. So I was a little interesting when I was a teenager, y'all. And then we're going to get deep into the book. But I have all these stories like that Dr. Boyce makes me think of. Hi, hello. Hello, what's your name? I like that you said boundaries. Yes, indeed. That is one of my favorite words. Hello. Hello, hello. Hey, hello, hello. I love it. Yes. Is that you, Tashi? I think that's you, Tashi. Hey, girl. Ooh, I like this. Jen said, yeah, but some folks play the nice guy and girl to get over. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I thought that was you, Tashi. I just want to make sure. Hey, girl, I'm so glad to have you on here tonight. Yes, that is so true, Jen. Some people try to, they're actually not really nice until they, when they get what they want, then you learn who they really are. So, I don't know about y'all, but I actually remember the first time I learned about reciprocity. Like, it is like clear as yesterday. So I remember I'm in college. So Jen and I, we're UCLA Bruins. Go Bruins. And we basically we have this student retention center. Well, it's in a different place now. But long story short, I was a little wild. And thank you, Tashi. Tashi, you a Bruin too, girl? Let me find out. I did not know. Jen did not tell me this. And so basically I went into the student retention center, and I told y'all I was a little, a little out there. And then so I went up to one of my classmates and I was like, I really like that hat. I was like, can I have it? And he was like, well, what are you gonna give me? And I said, what? He was like, it's reciprocity. Like, I'm giving you something, you got to give me something. He had on this really cool, like UCLA, like beanie or something. I forget now exactly what it was, but I liked it and I wanted it. And I was just joking. But anyway, so that was the day I learned about what reciprocity meant. I was like, well, thank you for this education. I never forget that day. So anyway, yes, Deborah. He was like, what you go give me? I was like, I have a lot of generous men in my family on both sides. Like all the men in my family are generous. So I don't even understand the concept. When he was like, what are you going to give me? I said, excuse me. I don't even understand that. All right. So let's just keep on going. Forgive my, I like finance to be fun. So forgive my random stories. I guess Dr. Boyce wrote off on me. So he talked about on page 103, the best way to build trust is by offering something. And honestly, I am glad that my ex-boyfriend taught me what reciprocity meant. And also through networking at clubs, I was in like NABA, like National Association of Black Accountants. I learned I'm gonna address that in a second. Basically, through NABA, I learned that our motto was lifting as we climb, right? And I learned the importance of offering something. So we were taught how to network. We were taught how to be professional in settings where there weren't many people that looked like us, right? And so, many times we have to do this thing that is called code switching. And, anytime that I went on an interview, I always went prepared with, okay, what am I bringing to this environment? What am I offering? And so that is a key thing to really understand anytime we're trying to build relationship is what can we offer to people? And I noticed that even me, tell me if I'm not the only one. I notice, like, if I'm in a group of people and everybody is contributing and then there's somebody that's not doing anything, it kind of rubs me the wrong way, because I'm like, you're just taking from everybody else, but you refuse to contribute. And that's just not right, you know? So I really believe in, anytime you're a part of anything, you want to be an asset, right? And so that's really huge for me. And so Jen said, why could they call it something else? Jen, they was trying to hold on to the melanated kids. Okay. You know how UCLA was. So, all right. So bottom of page 103, y'all. So it says the Black community loses trillions of dollars in each generation from broken relationships alone. So this is where we get into the meat. And he's basically talking about, throughout this chapter, the importance of, keeping our relationships together. And he says, I'm going to just read this part from page 103. This might come in the massive economic and psychological cost of divorces, because basically, married couples, historically, build more wealth together because you have the opportunity to have dual incomes, so you basically multiply what you have coming in, meaning you can invest more in some cases. We have broken families, urban violence, domestic violence, or simply getting triggered by loved ones and cutting them off. Now, listen, this one kind of convicted me, because, sometimes, maybe it's just me, but sometimes your family can run you low. And sometimes you just got to have those boundaries, like Tashi said, because some people's behavior and energy is just not uplifting, and it's basically not supportive of who you're trying to be or where you're trying to go in life. So, I'm really, of course, no one wants to cut their family members off, right? Exactly, Jen. Yes, it is trauma. It is so much trauma, right? And, no, again, you don't want to cut family members off, but sometimes certain behaviors, it's just like, enough is enough, right? And you just need to take a little break from that. So Deborah says some are shy to ask and include, like, how do you feel, or what's your, ooh, now that's good, Deborah. This is so good. I mean, if people could just stop for a moment, right? I know we do this, right? But not everyone. Just asking somebody how they feel or what's their viewpoint to kind of bring them into the conversation, I think that's huge. And it just shows that you're open to different perspectives and you honor that person. So thank you for sharing that, Deborah, because people ultimately, based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I have a whole master's degree in psychology, y'all. So like this, like talking about finances and money and all that stuff and trauma, like that's like right up my alley. And when you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at the base and the core, people need to belong and they need to feel seen and they need to be heard. And if we can provide that for people, because a lot of people just don't have it, they may not have the friends, the family, the community around them to give them that support. And he actually has a story about that in here, about a young woman, which is actually coming up. It's on between pages 104 and 106, and I'll summarize it. But basically, he was talking about there's a talented young woman who didn't have any family relationships. She had two different fathers for her children. I do not like to say baby daddy, like they're not babies. And then one father had passed away and the other father was not involved. And because she didn't have support and community, she couldn't maintain her business. And so it's just sad to me that a lot of times we have these situations where we have the talent, right? But we just need that little extra support to get us to that next step, right? Like, just imagine, I'm just curious in the chat, is there anything how do I want to ask this question? Do any of you feel like you will be farther along in something if you had some additional support? I know I would, because Dr. Boyce was talking today with another doctor, social work, Dr. Keith Watts, and he was talking about how he was able to stay with his parents until he was 27, basically finishing his PhD. And I was like, dang, I would have loved to be able to stay with my parents that long. I started paying rent at 18. Okay, because it was just not a healthy environment to be in. As soon as they told me I could move onto the wonderful campus of UCLA, I was like, bye. And my dad was like, well, why would you give up your job? Because I had to quit my job to do like the summer program. Oh, did you do ASP, Jen? Uh, and so exactly. So everybody can relate. We all would have could have potentially been farther. And I just think about all the money my sister and I wasted on rent had we not had we had a home environment that was supportive until we finished our education and got on our feet. You know how much money we would have saved? You know how much faster I would have been a homeowner? I mean, it just support. And that's the key. That is what to me is Dr. Boyce's underlying message is if we didn't have the support, how can we be that support for somebody else? Right. And so funny enough, one of my goals is to mentor a young lady. And I got an email about a mentorship program through another organization, NAIA, which is the National African American Insurance Association, I think. And so I was like, oh, well, this is a sign because I was like, I don't want, this next generation to not know and be prepared for what is coming, what is potentially coming at them in this world. And also just preparing them to be financially mindful, right? So they know how to do things so that they don't have to work. Because this week, y'all, two different sisters, right? They were talking about abuse at work. I was like, who need? Now, I was like, I'm gathering myself because I was very much more animated. I was like, so I've had an incident at work. At work, Jen. Yes, at work. Being disrespected to Black women. And I was just like, I prayed for justice for them because I was like, that's not okay. Because I know how hard they work. And it's a shame that it's 2025 and people still feel like it's okay to disrespect Black people, that are working. You're not lazy because you have a whole job and you have these fancy titles, but because of the color of my skin or maybe my gender, you feel like you can speak to me as if I'm less than. And I've actually spoken to a boss about that before. I was like, no, because when I moved to the South, it was quite a transition. I was like, yeah, that don't work for me. I had to speak up for myself. Like Tashi said, Tashi put my favorite word in the chat, y'all. This is my absolute favorite word. I've had friends tell me that I am the boundary queen. Where is it at? Here we go, right here. Boundaries. We're not doing that. No, you cannot disrespect me. That's not okay. So anyway, let me get off that. So going back to what Jen said at the top of page 104, I know I'm skipping around a little, but it's all aligned. He says, this sentence stood out to me. He said, most of these battles and divisions are the result of endless trauma experienced by many of our people, extending from the manner by which white supremacy has created an unnatural space that makes some of us behave like crabs in a barrel. I mean, and we've talked about this before, but we still got people thinking all Black-owned businesses are substandard. No, you should not put everybody in a bucket, right? And that's just really disheartening that some of our folks still can't see that we're not we need to be unified, not against each other. You know what I mean? So let's go to page 106 because I know we said we're going to talk up to page 111. And if y'all have anything that y'all want to share in the chat from the book that stood out to you, please put that in the chat. Thank you, Deborah. I know you don't. I know you woke and conscious. Crabs in the barrel. Yes. Pulling each other down. That is exactly right. Like, I actually, if somebody I'm around says something like, oh, I don't support Black-owned businesses, I will actually challenge them on that, especially if they have a Black-owned business. I said, so make that make sense. Like, do you not want people to support your business? So why would you? Everything, it's the law of cause and effect. Some people call it karma. Some people call it the law of reaping and sowing. Whatever it is that you call it, we have to realize that our thoughts actually shape our reality, right? Exactly, Jen. We got to support one another. And so that's the only way we're going to grow. That's the only way we're going to thrive in our community. And, I'm so glad you all are here because I know that there's other like-minded people who believe the same thing. This is the only way we're going to elevate. So, I love the fact on page 106. So Jen, Jen is like a super teacher. She's a homeschool mom. And I love that he says relationship management should be taught as a formal skill. I totally agree with that because have y'all ever been to work before? I don't understand this. Maybe it's just me. My parents are Southern. You say hi to someone and they don't speak. I don't get it. I really don't. That don't make no type of sense. It really does take a village. Uh-oh, y'all. Is something happening in our group chat? I saw a message from Natasha. So yes, we gotta elevate and congratulate. I agree with that. And it absolutely does take a village, Jen. Yes, we are part of your village. We love you. You famous. if y'all don't know Jen is famous. Look, I love it, Deborah. Deborah said I make them speak. I am here for that, Deborah. Okay. Oh my goodness, that is kicks. Yeah, I couldn't. I didn't understand that. I was like, you. I know you see me and hear me. Like we're like this close. I was like, that's wild. That is wild to me. Like you don't speak. Anyway, I agree with Dr. Boyce. Relationship management should absolutely be taught. And I'm still trying to get this lady to send me her relationship tracker that she made. It sounds amazing because like whenever I'm in a new community, I feel like I talk to those people more, but I also have my previous relationships. So what I've learned that works for me, first of all, I had to decide who do I want to be in relationship with. Who do, and I actually for the most part have standing appointments with a lot of my friends. I know that sounds wild. Yes, love it. But because people are like, I'm like, oh, you never call me. And they're like, yeah, because you don't answer the phone. I'm like, well, I can't answer the phone if I'm in a meeting. Like, I can't be rude. And so I'm like, look, if you don't like the fact that I don't answer the phone because I'm working, then why don't we just set up a time when I'm not going to be working, you're not going to be working. This is our time. So many of my friends, we have a standing appointment, and that helps to maintain our relationship. And just stay in the loop of what's going on. And I had to go off from one of my friends this morning because she got sick and she had to go to the ER and she did not call me. And I live down the street and I'm like, girl, you are a single lady. You got to go to an emergency room on the train. I said, I have a car. No. So y'all, this is my cry to check on your single friends, please. Check on your strong single friends. Make sure they all right. Because I see that some people, even when they are going through things, they don't reach out. So that's a part of relationship management too. Like having somebody you can reach out to if you need. And then this is a special one for me on page 107. He just says narcissistic behavior should not be tolerated. Yeah, lived with that growing up. That was really difficult. And so definitely don't tolerate that. So in the next part, just to wrap up for tonight, because I know we have Powernomics training. In 107, he talks about basically money is not the only part of wealth. And I really love that because so many people focus on money. when it comes to wealth. I know that's not us here, but when I'm thinking about the wealthy me, right? What comes to mind? So I want to know from y'all in the chat, when you think about the wealthiest, highest version of yourself outside of money, who are you? Right? What comes to mind? I just want to know in the chat. Um, and while y'all putting that in the chat, I want to read this from page 109, where he says, "What I noticed was that the people who got things done were those who were collaborative with others." So I really love the fact that, like, for example, Jen and I, we're going to be working together to do something for the All Black National Convention, right? And so we getting things done, y'all. We are getting things done. It's and we're doing it together. He said they would share networks and contacts, help each other out, give each other advice, and create good spiritual energy in their circles. And so when I think about my ideal community and the people I want to be in relationship with, I want to be in relationship with people who are collaborative. I want to be in relationship with people who are not gatekeepers, who they have all this knowledge but they don't want to share it, or they have contacts and things of that nature. So, but and they're like, no, this is mine. I earned it. And yes, of course you earned it, but remember, a closed fist also can't receive. So if you are thinking about the law of giving and receiving, right? If you have your hand like this, not only can you give to someone, oh no, y'all can't see, but you can also receive. But if you're like this, like, oh, I'm just holding on, you limit the blessings that you can receive. So he says, you'd be hard pressed to find a consistently successful person who doesn't have a solid community of supportive people around him. So that's, I mean, you know, that part. To say less, in order for us to elevate, we need community. And I think that is so crucial. And I learned that at UCLA in the ASP, no, Student Retention Center. Sorry. I ain't gonna be all tangential because we got 3 minutes. But the last part I just want to point out on page 111 is he talks about building an economic empire and how it required him to build a new skill. So I want to give a shout out. I don't know if you're on here tonight, Tasha. I know Tasha was on last week. So Tasha is my amazing coach and mentor. And you know, Tasha talks about she helps women build economic empires. And I love that he said, I had to convince myself to work more efficiently. And guess what? If we have a strong network, we can work more efficiently, right? Like Jen taught me this time management tool that I've been using to train my team, right? I share with Jen how I organize the back end of my business. And so he said that he had to learn how to be lazy. So the way I translate learn how to be lazy is, how can I have wealth with ease? Thank you, Tasha. I got that from Tasha. That's not me. And the last thing I want to end on is the sentence also on page 111. It's the second to last paragraph. He says, one thing that did work extremely well was when I took the time to learn how to find good teammates, right? Teamwork is the secret weapon used by most successful people and starts in a very basic sense. So good things come to those who wait, and they do it in great teams. All right, lovelies. Well, we will pick up next week on page 112. So let me put my marker there. But thank y'all all so much for coming tonight. Anybody want to read with me next week? I need a reader. It's more fun when I have like banter and stuff like that with people, you know? Exactly. Sharing is caring, Jen. Yes, I love it. And thank you for this mic drop, Deborah. Love it. All right, y'all. Well, y'all have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. We'll finish up chapter 5. And if anybody wants to come on and read with me, okay, yay, Tashi. Okay, perfect. So I'll send you a text, Tashi, and then I'll get your email so I can send you the link to join. This is gonna be so much fun. All right, y'all. See you next week. Bye.